Hello, everyone. Thank you guys so much for tuning in one more time. Happy Tuesday. The week is still in the beginning. I know we still got a long way to go, but we also got work to do. We also got things to talk about. So if you happen to find me for the very first time, my name is Marvel. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Your time is very precious, and I really appreciate that. So if you're curious as to what I do on my YouTube channel, well, first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Mervell, born and raised in Congo, but I moved to the US. I've been here for almost 13 years now, and I invest in Congo in farming. My goal here on YouTube is to encourage as many African youth, and specifically Congolese as possible, to go back to Africa to invest and empower the next generation so they don't think that the only way you can make it is by moving to the West. So that is the purpose of this channel. And if that sounds something that you'll be interested in seeing where it goes, hit the like button, subscribe, and stick around. Without further ado, actually, let me hang out for a minute and allow enough time for people to join the chat, and then we'll have this conversation. All right. So how you guys doing? Lucky me, I know because you and I we really had to talk a lot all weekend. So I worked the entire weekend last week, and I did live streams, and you guys were out here with me. So I'm glad that you hung out with me and everything. So I'm back here again with another live stream where I wanted to pretty much talk about myself and tell you guys that why I ended up in the position that I am in today. Okay, me coming from Congo and being born in the city and raised there, and then eventually somehow I just fell in love with rural lifestyle and farming lifestyle. So how did that happen? Which is uncommon for a lot of city guys, people that are born and raised in the city. They look for stuff like going to college, getting a job, and working for a corporation, and driving expensive car, living some sort of bourgeoisie lifestyle, right? But how did I end up in such a position? Born in Kinshasa, raised in Kinshasa, and somehow I just love farming and being around nature so much. Well, I'll tell you why. First of all, the way this whole thing started is when I remember I might have been maybe 8, or I might have been 9 or 10 years old when I first visited my father's farm. All right, this was back in Congo. It was during summer break, so the school was off. We had a few weeks off, so my father decided that he wanted to take me and my oldest sister. So I'm the youngest, but my sister right after me. All right, shout out wherever she is, if she's even watching this video, which I doubt. Anyways, she and I went with my parents, because my mom went too, and my other brother was there. At this point, my brother had already visited multiple times, so he was old enough at the time. He was doing a lot of things. So was my very first time, and my sister. So when we went there, just the way things were done, man, like the lifestyle. I met my cousin, who I already knew. Well, he passed away, peace to his soul. He was living there at one point with his parents, because his parents is my uncle, who was one of the guys within my father's team who was looking after the farm, who was running the farm basically. So they lived there because my dad had built multiple structures for his worker, just kind of the same thing that I'm doing now. Only his farm is 100 times bigger than mine. But anyways, so we arrived there. First day, we had a warm welcome, food, everything natural, right? Keep in mind, I'm a 10-year-old at the time. I'm sitting there, and then my cousin, after we ate, we were chilling because we got there. It was around like 11 a.m. something like that. So my after we ate, we were just relaxing. So my father and my and his team, they went far deep in the farm because he had planted these trees that I can't think of the name, but it's this the sort of tree that you use to make like numerous building materials with, whether it is planche, all of the other stuff, right? So they went there, they took saws and all other tools that they were cutting on these trees and working on shaping them up or whatever. And every night after sunset, they went and hunt, right? So we ate. My cousin took me with him with the dogs, right? We had hunting dogs as well. So he took me to the farm. I mean, took me to the forest somewhere. So he had set up traps. Actually, we got like multiple animals, right? Well, these animals, they're more like squirrels looking animals. I can't think of their names properly, I'm sorry, but there was at least 3 or 4 of them. So we brought them back, and it was like this sort of bird that he already caught. So we came back, I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. Me growing up in Kinshasa like that and being around friends and, in the city, you didn't get to see this kind of stuff. So I've seen him. So he brought it back. My aunt, my aunt, one of my aunts who was also there, she helped burn it, skin it up or whatever. And then she cooked it for us. So I ate it and it tastes really good. I'm like, yo, Gedeon, let's go back over there again. Let's do it, man. This is so cool. I want us to do more of this. It's like, yeah, I mean, and he told me I set up so many traps all over the forest within the farm, right? It's like, all right, the ones that we checked is on the one side, let's just say on the east side of the forest, but he also had multiple all over. So he's like, all right, because, it's about to be a sunset and I just don't want to go because at a certain time, because you remind you, I mean, me and my cousin, we were around the same age. He was just 10 years old, just as I was. It was after a certain time they didn't allow us to just go for a walk by ourselves unless we were accompanied by adults. So he was like, yeah, now mommy's not gonna let us go. We have to wait till the next day. So I'm sitting there. I am so excited. And I'm just like, man, I can't wait till tomorrow because this is so cool, right? So, and then my dad, they got back from the forest, cutting the trees or whatever. They chilled for a little bit and then they went back out to hunt. Waking up the next morning, they had at least 3 different animals. They had a kudu, and they had an antelope that my dad hunted. And then it was another animals that looked exactly like a cat. It's more of like a bigger cat. I think it's called civet in French, but I can't think of the name in English. Either meerkat, something like that. But anyways, don't quote me on that. I don't know the name in English. But anyway, so it was 3 of them. I'm like, man, this is so amazing. So I was never exposed to this kind of things growing up in Kinshasa, right? So seeing these things, hunting and bringing fresh animals, they skinned it up, they cooked it. It would taste so good because remind you at this point, I grew up. I'm used to eating chicken, goats, beef, whatever. But now I'm eating all of this exotic meats and everything. God, I fell so in love with the little bit of the time that I spent there, because we were there for a couple of weeks, and then the school was approaching, right? And so, but they needed to take us back, but my dad, my mom, and his team, they stayed behind. Like, I remember being sad, going back to my parents' house, knowing that, damn, Gideon is back there doing his thing, right? So setting up traps, catching animals. I barely spent time without thinking about what it could have been doing at a certain time of the day while I was, back at my parents' house. So that one alone stuck out to me. And when he passed away, I was very sad. Very long story. I don't want to get into the details of how he passed, actually. So I'm like, man, I really want to be doing the exact same thing that he's doing now. Then I'm like, all right. Eventually, as some of you may already know, where I share how I raise chickens, right? So after a while, like years later, my father, invited some guy, came over, to build a chicken coop where I started raising chickens. So I told him about my little poultry farming projects in my parents' backyard. And one greatest thing about that, now going back, I know, oh man, I was, it was like I was self-sufficient at the time. I didn't even have to worry about buying eggs for breakfast. Bruh, you're driving around Philadelphia, guys. If you happen to be around this area, y'all gotta be careful, because people drive like crazy, dog. But anyway, so I was like, consuming these free eggs. I didn't even have to worry about buying eggs. Chickens, whenever I wanted to eat chicken, man, whether it is fried, grilled, it was right there. Because guess what? I can just go back there. I'm like, well, I'm sorry. Today is your last day being alive. You're gonna end up in in a frying pan, and you're gonna be dining for the day. All right. So the excitement of seeing that, back then I didn't think the way I think now, but looking back, I'm thinking, wow, this was probably the best, I'll say, couple of years of my life till now. Because you have to think about this way. One thing about living in a city, or even most of us moving from Africa to the West, we end up either buying a house in a suburban area and working in the city, or whatever the case may be, right? This is an industrialized society where everything is basically there. They just expect you to go in the grocery store, buy food, and take it home and eat. But growing food, your own food, it is the best form of freedom that they don't talk to us about. And I realized that from the time I visited my father's farm at being 10 years old, being able to go to the bush and collecting all the traps that my cousin had set up, bringing animals back for consumption that you didn't pay for, guys, it is a privilege. Even when the conquest of the West, they made sure they eliminated, hunter gatherers. So now in today's societies, in multiple African tribes, they're still there, but the rate is much lower than it used to be. Think about it this way: these people, they've lived their lifestyle for centuries, right? And that is how they actually live their life. Imagine you taking them away from that environment and bringing them to the city. You know the transition, how long and how much time it'll take them to fit in. So These people, if you look at them, and I'll highly recommend that you go watch videos about hunter gatherers, right? You will see, physically speaking, they're in a much greater shape, they're much healthier. And a lot of people, they will tell you, oh, healthcare in that area is horrible, people die of starvation or whatever the case may be. Guys, every little medicine we ingest in our body comes from numerous trees that are out there in the nature. So these people, having lived for a long time in the bush, they have learned and they know every medicinal trees that they can use to heal multiple, numerous sicknesses that you and I don't even have knowledge of. And these pharmaceutical companies, they don't want you knowing about them. Let me tell you something real quick. Actually, I know this because I've seen people do it. I'll give you one quick example of acne, right? Is it eczema? Eczema is like the skin condition where like it's so itchy and the skin is breaking out. It's a horrible. Eczema, it is actually treated with papaya trees. Don't papaya branches, you split it in half. That liquid, you apply that liquid on eczema, it heals you. Just in case you didn't know, you're welcome. You know how I know? I grew up with a friend who skin condition was very, very terrible, right? So this kid's condition was healed using papaya branches. Them branches and the liquid, the fresh liquid coming from papaya branches actually healed his skin condition. So how do you explain that? It might have been multiple other for other, you know what I'm saying, conditions that can be healed using other medicinal trees and things like that. But we don't know about it because we are so appreciative of everything around us. You get a job, don't do anything. All the elites, the billionaires and multimillionaires are doing everything for you. They're growing food, poor quality. I have to be, precise about that. You end up looking like this. Guys, if you had known me 10 years ago, I was a lot skinnier than I am. I'm average now, but I used to be much skinnier. And remind you, growing up, we thought being skinny, it was a sign of poverty. But then looking big or a little heavy, it was a sign of, you know, I don't know, prosperity or eating health or eating good. But now it's the opposite. Now people know, oh man, I keep getting these weights. I ain't gonna be able to, to mingle with people out there, whether it is a guy or a girl. They don't want to put in that much words because nobody ain't gonna want you in a relationship. These are the things we now were lied to growing up. Now people don't want to gain weight anymore because they know the consequences of gaining weight. You do gain weight depending on the society where you're living, where you're from. Nobody don't want to, date you. Nobody don't want to hang out with you like that. You'll be miserable relationship speaking. Okay? So, these memories are still up in my head. And now that I'm an adult, especially living in America after all these years and seeing how the system continuing to fail the very people of this country, me being an immigrant, moving to America, I can't get too comfortable more than the natives because now this is my second home, but I have a primary home that I need to focus so much on, which is the Democratic Republic of Congo. And when I started thinking about investment, the very first thing I thought about a lot of things, but farming still stood out because memories were just so good that you can't just unthink them. That's why it came into the picture, and I'm loving it. But the only one regret that I have is not being able to be there physically and permanently, full time, living my best life up. But I'm working my way towards that goal. And one day, I will sit there with both of my legs on a stool, with a glass of wine on my left or right hand side, giving you guys a toast and said, my dream has finally come true. All of these things around us, all of these things around us was only meant to keep us thinking that this is the best life we can possibly have. Coming out with these new smartphones, with all these new technologies that are not doing anything by destroying our culture, you know, people spending way more time on social media than they are innovating, thinking about better ways to better themselves, you know, or their livelihoods, their possible future for their children, grandchildren, creating generational wealth. People aren't thinking about things like that. But you will go to a social and a public place where people are socializing. Everybody's their head down, looking at their cell phones. This is the life that the world they want us to live in. But if you really want to live the best life, trust me, nothing can go wrong with packing your stuff and going back to Africa if you are ready. That's the best possible lifestyle you can possibly have. I'm going to get a taste of it when I fly to Congo before the end of this year. Then I'll let you guys know what it really feels like. Because since the first time I started my pig project, I didn't get to enjoy it because when I flew down there, I, flew to the situation that I have discussed with you guys on the channel, right? But it's not too late. As we speak now, I got my team back on the farm like I told you the other day, right? I had already sent them the money yesterday. They went and purchased everything, all the materials that needed for the job to complete the work, right? To complete the plumbing work so we can move the pigs inside, right? So today is basically the second day. Today will be like the very first day working for a full day, because when they got there yesterday, they barely did anything. They were just working on setting things up for today. So it should take them the day tomorrow. Maybe they should be done by the end of the day tomorrow, according to what they told me, right? And I'm very excited about that. Why I'm so excited? I'm about to see animals back on the farm. There is nothing that used to make me go to bed in peace than knowing that there are animals on a farm and people are taking care of them. That alone was my therapy. Guys, you have to find something you love to do. Trust me, with all the stress that we go through out here in the West, whether it is job related, whether it is work related, guys, it has an impact on your life. Looking for things that help you relax, that actually bring definition to your life and give your life a definition. It is the best possible way you heal yourself mentally, right? And mine is through farming. This lifestyle is changing my life in a more positive way. And I can't think of anything better than being a farmer. I can't. I really can't think of anything better than being a farmer. And I will always encourage you guys to invest in agriculture and farming and things of that sort. Because I do know for a fact that if it's done right, you can say goodbye to 9 to 5 and living your best possible life. Just due to the fact that the growth, it's so staggering at a short amount of time that now it'll require you to keep up with the growth. Now it's not a problem of the project itself. Now it's a question that, are you going to be able to keep up with it? And that's the question you need to be asking yourself. Even going back from when I started, poultry farming, or I mean, I not single-handedly started it, but when my dad got me into it, right? I was so surprised how fast these chickens were multiplying. It was like every day you were getting a new game. It was like every single day it was a chick laying eggs, with chicken laying eggs, and they're growing all fast because of the feed that I was, the things that I was feeding them with. It was such a great experience. So guys, considering this, look at it more this way. You're living sustainably and spending time in a nature where there is less pollution because the trees that you've planted. In addition to that, you don't even have to spend money on groceries like that because everything is around you. That's how it was when I spent those couple of weeks at my father's farm when I was 10 years old. In order for you to get food anywhere near that area, you needed to, well, of course, like they brought things like sugar, salt. They bought those things from the city just to help, cook certain things with while we were on the farm. But everything else was there. Plantains, what? Um, Squash. When I say everything, was everything. You wanted to eat matembele, it was right there. You wanted to eat ngai ngai, it was right there. You wanted to eat shu, it was right there. You wanted beans, it was right there. It was everything. Everything was available. Now, think about you waking up in the morning, not having to drive to a grocery store to buy food. You can just go in the backyard and you have breakfast or lunch and then eventually dinner. That privilege can only come with independence, freedom of owning a land. Only when you own the land that you can enjoy this sort of privileges. Guys, trust me, people will be so jealous when you reach that level where you're living sustainably and you're self-sufficient. But in the beginning, they will criticize you. They'll think you're crazy. They would expect you to fail. But when they start to seeing that success coming to life, now guess what's going to happen? They're going to want to come and get some advice from you as to how you were able to build what you've built, as to how you manage to create this dream of yours. But in the beginning, they didn't believe in you, right? But only when you are now in a position where you made it, now they are curious how you did it. But they weren't there in the beginning to encourage you, to give you a push, to say, go ahead, we got your back. And this is the time we're living. All I'm trying to say about that is that whatever what people say, don't pay them no mind. Focus on your dream. Only you have the power, of course, and God, to reach your goals. Because we all born from different families. We all have different objectives. Maybe I shared the story with you because I didn't understand it until I realized eventually it runs in the family. I have such interest in farming, agriculture, because my that's it's one of the things my father had done, and I thought it was cool as a 10-year-old. Them going to the bush to hunt, bringing back animals that we ate for dinner. On the top of it, walking around the bush, and like snatching fruits off of trees and eating like the most healthy possible things you can possibly eat, right? And now right there, it was a huge privilege that looking back, I'm like, man, it's been so long. This many years have gone by. I don't know when is the next time I'm gonna get a chance like that again. That is why I'm building my own. I'm trying to recreate that dream. So now I am the owner and I made things possible. We can all do it. I say this over and over. Owning a land in Africa doesn't cost you that much money. Doesn't cost you really a thing. Compared to what you will have to spend here with the taxes and everything, you technically don't own a house here in America or a land per se, because if even if you pay it off, but if you still have to continue paying for property taxes every month throughout the whole year, then it does not belong to you. I'll tell you one quick story before I wrap this up about that. When I was a deputy sheriff, I worked with a lady whose mother was retired. She was retired from somewhere, and she owned a home which eventually she couldn't afford any longer because she couldn't keep up with the property taxes anymore. Keep in mind, her social security check when it came in, it was only enough to pay rent. After she paid rent, um, she was left with almost nothing, right? And then she went and applied for a food stamp. They approved her for $27. She cursed everybody out. She ended up selling a house. Now she's renting somewhere. And my friend, he told me the same thing. Her and her husband, they had to sell the home because they couldn't afford to pay the property taxes anymore. That gives you an idea of what the American society is really about. Stay the hell away. You can buy your property, buy your house, make mortgage payments on it, build that equity. When you feel like I have enough equity, I can get this money back and go do a bigger project back in Africa. Have at it. You got my support. You'll have 100% full support from me. If you're thinking like that, that's at least how I'm thinking. And I said that in my last live stream. The only reason that I might consider buying a house next year here in the US is because I want to be able to build that equity, right? So, years down the road, as I'm still working on my farming project back in Congo, I can take a certain amount of money and go pour into a much bigger project. Then I will make my heart so much joyful. All right. So guys, there you have it. I think I took this from my dad. That's all I was trying to say. Thank you for hanging out with me. Hit the like button. I'll share the live stream with a friend. Until the next one, I'll see you guys soon. Peace out.